Hi, welcome to Midwest Magic Cleaning. My name is Humperdinck Fistknuckle, and today we're going to be doing a garage that has been affected by some severe ADHD. Now, one of the reasons that I showed this garage on video, which originally I wasn't going to, but this one has a problem where the person who has ADHD also does not want to get rid of almost anything. They're fine with getting rid of trash, but there's a whole bunch of clothing and stuff in here and craft supplies that they don't want to get rid of. So I'm going to show you how to clean a garage whenever you can't get rid of the clutter. And it's not necessarily about stacking, it's more about consolidation. So suck it. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to empty this garage as much as possible. We're just going to take everything from the garage and bring it right out onto the driveway. Now, if you don't have a driveway, you can just stack everything on your roof. And yes, I'm from the Midwest. I just called it roof. Deal with it, son. Deal with it. As we put everything from the garage onto the driveway, we're going to kind of consolidate like items with like items into big piles. So we're going to have several tubs of just clothing that's all kind of stacked together. Craft supplies are going to kind of be stacked together as well. There's a small herd of moose in this garage, so we will just kind of shepherd those together and have them just stand in the driveway being moose. And the reason that we do that is because whenever we get everything out of the garage, we're going to clean the floors, just sweep up basically, and then we're going to create room. Then we're going to consolidate all those like items into as many tubs as humanly possible so that we can stack vertically rather than horizontally. This garage is not going to be completely decluttered by any means. In fact, in the after pictures, it's still going to look pretty packed. But our goal is to try to organize and consolidate so that they can at least, at a bare minimum, walk through their garage from one end to the other. Because as it sits right now, they couldn't even get out the garage door. Now, many of you will be happy to know that I am in a city that does recycle. For longtime viewers of the channel, you know that most of the places that I work do not have recycling in their area. This one does. So we're going to make one big giant pile of boxes outside, and then I'm going to have Jason break those down. Then we're going to consolidate all those into a big contractor bag so that they can be taken to be recycled. Boxes took up about 10% of the total garage area. There were an absolute ton of them in there. So I made sure that as I took them out, I let them know where they were going. I'd be like, "Shut up, you stupid box. You're going outside and then to recycling. Please don't take me to recycling. I like living in the garage. Shut up, you stupid talking box." Now, the other thing I'm going to do is peek inside each one of these tubs and boxes before I take them out to the driveway. Because as we found out, there are certain tubs and there are certain boxes that were just filled with random trash. But that also gives us a heads up that if I open one tub and it's got electronics in it, that helps me know where to put that. It just makes our job easier when we start putting things back into the garage and when we start consolidating other items. If you're wondering why I'm looking in these trash bags, it's because there were a lot of trash bags and storage tubs that may have been trash and may not have been trash. Since we don't want to overstep our bounds and throw things away that are legit, I wanted to open up every trash bag to see if it's got clothing in it, or if it's just being used as storage, or if it was legitimate actual trash. There were 2 or 3 bags that were legitimate actual trash. They just hadn't been taken out yet. But I'm trying to do everything in my power to make sure that we don't accidentally throw something of theirs away. This is a form of ADHD that has kind of a bit of a control issue, and anything that gets thrown away needs to be thrown away by them and not us. We don't want to impose our decision making onto them. We're just there to consolidate, restack, give them some space, and basically play like garage Tetris. One thing you have to remember about ADHD is that if we were to just, like, say these were our friends, they're strangers, I'd never met them before, but if, say, they were longtime friends and they went on vacation, and I decided that as a quote-unquote gift to them, I'm going to go in and clean their garage without them knowing and give them a big surprise when they get back. That is actually not helpful to many people with ADHD, because even though this may look chaotic to us, there's a very good chance that they know where every single thing in this garage is. So like if I were to say, do you have a crescent wrench I can borrow? And they would say, yes, there's a pile of dishes on top of the workbench, and there's a box beside that that has a bunch of cassette tapes in it. It's underneath the cassette tapes. And that may seem bizarre to people who don't have ADHD, but that's because you don't have ADHD. You literally can't picture it unless you've been through it. I live with someone who has ADHD, so I'm used to it, and I grew up around a lot of people who had ADHD. So I'm familiar with the way their mind and their organizational systems work. So anyway, if they were to come home from their vacation and everything is put away and repacked, it's basically like hiding their possessions from them forever. Because people with ADHD have a very large problem with out of sight, out of mind. If it gets put away in a cabinet or it gets put away into a tub, it ceases to exist for many people with this disorder. Remember, the D in ADHD stands for disorder. This is not a choice. This is not them being lazy or immature. This is the way the mind functions in somebody with this disorder. So in order to do a project like this, not only do we need permission from the person who has the disorder, but we have to respect the fact that they keep their things in a certain position and a certain location for a reason. So whenever we clean for them or when we organize for them, we're going to try to keep the things in the same basic location that they were in before. We're just going to pack them in tubs so that it gives them more space. So there may have been a gigantic pile or, bags of clothing in this one area. All we're going to do is take the clothes out of the bags and put them in a tub so that they can be stacked rather than piled. But we're going to keep them basically where they were so that they don't have to do an Easter egg hunt for all their old stuff. We did remove about 8 bags of trash from this garage, but it was actual trash. So old cans and bottles, lots and lots of boxes. As far as items, the only things we threw away were things that were literally broken, like shattered. But outside of that, absolutely nothing was thrown away. We want to avoid that as much as possible. In a perfect world, if this were me and this was my garage, I would have gotten rid of all the clothing, all the shoes, and they had an overload of cleaning supplies. Just by getting rid of those things, it would have freed up about 75% of the space in their garage. Almost nothing out here outside of craft supplies was useful, and you can tell that most of it hasn't been touched or thought of in years. Also, whenever you're doing a garage like this, it's not the large collections that are the problem or the pain. It's after you get those out, you're going to find a whole bunch of dirt and random small items that you have to sweep up. And in a garage like this, small items can't be just necessarily swept altogether, because we found jewelry, old debit cards, and things with actual value among the dirt. It just falls out of the container they were in, and if you just generally sweep up the floor haphazardly, you're going to end up getting rid of all those things that actually have value. So we kind of have to sift through the dirt to make sure that it's just dirt, then we can sweep it up and put it in the trash. One big thing that we always do whenever we're cleaning a garage is we don't think of it as we're cleaning the garage. We're thinking about it as we're cleaning this corner of the garage, or we're in a small one like this, we're cleaning just the front half. Our whole goal is to get things out, sweep out that first half, and get it emptied. then we can concentrate on the second half. By dividing up any room, even if it's one inside your house, into a grid style like that, you can concentrate on one little square of the room and say, that's what I'm cleaning. The rest of this room doesn't exist to me until this is done. It takes away kind of that overwhelming feeling and makes it easier to handle whenever you cut it into sections. Because I know a lot of people would have opened that garage door, saw the picture that you all saw in the opening of this video and been like, nope, I'm out of here, sucker. And then Moose would still be inside the garage going, please let us out of the garage. We're just friendly garage Moose. Shut up, Moose, I'm gone. When we get to things like cabinets or shelving, we're going to try to consolidate everything that we can into as little units as possible, because the more we can stack, the more room it frees up on other cabinets and other shelving units. And we're going to need all that space because, again, this is going to be really packed tight whenever we're done. Kind of like your mom. Hi-oh! I'm not apologizing for that. Anyway, whenever we're done with this section, we're going to go toward the front section and treat it as its own section of its own grid. This one was full of random trash and crafting supplies, so it was a little bit easier to handle than the back half. Again, just like your mom. I'm sorry, I'll stop now. Now, while going through this trash, we're going to find a lot of good stuff, and we're going to start the consolidation process because this is more about piles of lots of smaller items. So, for instance, in this section, we found a whole bunch of mason jars. So I could take one tub and use it as the mason jar tub. Otherwise, these things were kind of scattered around the garage, and a couple of unopened packages were stacked on top of each other. So getting all those into one tub helps out immensely. Not just with space, but whenever they go to look for a mason jar, they're all going to be in one spot and easy to access for them. We're going to do the same thing with crafting supplies. She has a lot of stuff out here for painting and Mod Podge, a lot of little Dollar Tree woodworking type of things. All of that is going to go into a single tub. She can sort through that later. And if they want, they can even pull all this stuff out of the tubs later and put it right back where it was. But that's not our concern. That's the way they live. That's their choice. They're adults. But for us, all we're trying to do is give them space right now so that they can function in it. At a bare minimum, we're not just giving them space, but again, we took out 8 bags of trash. So we're at least getting rid of the stuff that needs to be thrown away, and that by itself frees up quite a bit of space on its own. A lot of people ask me on most videos, aren't you afraid it's just going to go right back to the condition it was in before you started? And the answer is always no. We're there to help out because we were asked to help. We're going to do what we came to do, which is give them space. And if it goes back that way, at least between the time we cleaned and the time that it ends up cluttered again, at least they had that much time to where they had breathing room. In all reality, it probably will get back to that condition again because, again, we're dealing with a disorder and not a choice. It's like if you watch Post 10, he's a guy who takes out beaver dams and drains culverts that are clogged and helps flooded areas and stuff. He just volunteers and does it because he's autistic like me, or at least I assume that he is, and he just likes doing it. But it's like he's not going to stop just because beavers are going to rebuild a dam. He'll just show up again and take down the dam. Beavers are going to beave, man. It doesn't mean you have to ignore it and not help. It's like he said, yeah, it's probably going to flood again, but me draining it this time, it's going to take a lot longer for it to build up that water supply to become a flood. So between now and when it floods, we'll have several months worth of peace. While I'm clearing off a lot of these spaces, a lot of the workshop table and areas beside the refrigerator, I'm constantly scanning the garage and thinking, where am I going to put all this stuff? What space can I utilize so that the things we put back aren't in the middle of the garage, they're hugging the walls. Now, unfortunately, that means that his workshop bench is going to be covered with stuff. We really wanted to give him that space because he wanted to use that workshop table, but because we can't throw anything away, that's virtually impossible. So as I'm taking stuff off of these surfaces, I'm constantly looking around saying, okay, we can put kitchenware stuff here, we can put the clothing there, we can put all the extra tools on the workbench, because as we're doing this, I'm glancing outside and every time I'm looking and thinking, where in the hell are we going to put all this stuff? And again, the only way to do it is to stack it vertically rather than horizontally. That also means that I'm looking at the garage and figuring out what sections are going to contain what types of items. So there's going to be a section of the garage, or at least a stack, that's nothing but craft supplies so that they're all together and they're all consolidated. There's going to be a section that's nothing but clothing so that they're all together. There's going to be one section that's nothing but paint and paint brushes, those paint pans for rollers. All that type of stuff is going to go together in its own section. And that's just breaking the garage down mentally into grids and assigning each little section its own purpose. So I'll think of things like, what is the purpose of this box of items? Well, their purpose is to craft, so they all go together. What's the purpose of all these tools? Well, they're there to fix things. So we will have one section of the garage is devoted just to storing stuff that fixes things. And the whole point of that is that the things that they use are no longer going to be scattered all throughout the garage. So if she wants to craft and she's wondering where her crafting stuff went, well, that's an easy one. It's in one tub. If he needs to give his moose a stone cold stunner, it's in the moose section. It's in the moose tub. The very last thing we do before putting things back is to give the garage another quick sweep out, because as we move things from one section to another, all the dirt that was on the old boxes and old tubs and had collected throughout clothing and whatnot, that's going to scatter over the floor that we had already swept once. So we just want to make sure the floor is clean, and then we can start consolidating items and bringing them back into the garage. So this is also where they smoke. They're smokers. And Jason had noticed that the door was super yellow and orange. So he was like, I'm going to try to clean that just to see how much of a transformation it makes. So he grabbed a bottle of APC for the windows. For those of you who are new to the channel, that stands for all-purpose cleaner, and it's made basically with alcohol and water and a few drops of Dawn dish soap. And then he used Mr. Clean on the actual door, and the transformation it made is kind of crazy. Actually, it's not kind of crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Speaking of which, while we are watching him do this, I have a couple of announcements. I have had literally hundreds of people ask me to set up a baby registry for Jason, because for those of you who are fans of the channel and have been around a while, you know that he's going to be a first-time father. However, I spoke with him, and he's going to be overloaded with baby stuff because his mom and his grandmother love doing stuff like that. Between them and us, he's going to be just drowning in baby stuff. What he needs way more than that are repairs to his house. He has subfloor damage that has to be repaired, drywall damage which isn't as bad, and his windows are really old and shot. So if you're interested in helping Jason out, the thing that he could use is straight up cash. I don't use my PayPal account anymore for anything, so it's just sitting dormant. So if you want to donate to Jason's cause and help him and his family out for his firstborn baby, you can directly donate to midwestmagiccleaning@gmail.com. That's my PayPal address, and I will put that in the description of this video. If for some reason I forget because I'm an idiot, that's also in the About section of my YouTube page. All money that is given through there instead of a baby shower or a baby registry will go directly toward repairing Jason's house. But there are sections of his subfloor that there was a leak years ago and it's never been repaired, and the subfloor is so bowed and so rotted away that you can feel it kind of squish whenever you step on it. It's an easy repair. Nobody's had the time or the money to do it yet, but we're getting ready to jump into that. So any help like that in lieu of a baby registry would be greatly appreciated. And again, all that money goes directly to him and his family. I don't take any of that. One more note for those of you who know about the channel Clean with Barbie. She is less than 8,000 subscribers away from her very first YouTube plaque. I'm going to put a link to her channel in the description. And even if you don't watch it, just clicking the subscribe button on her channel would be like a gift. It would be so cool to see her hit 100,000 subscribers. Oh, and while you're at it, subscribe to mine too, unless you're a devil worshiper. I don't want devil worshipers clicking my subscribe button, and that's what devil worshipers do. They don't subscribe to things. So look, if you want to be a devil worshiper on your own time, hey, that's your life, man. You live your life the way you want it. Otherwise, you can just hit subscribe and be welcome to our cult. I mean community. I want to stress again, this is not a cult. Your mom's a cult. So there's two reasons we didn't show us stacking all this stuff together. One is because we outright forgot and didn't have a second camera rolling. But two, it's not really about the stacking, it's more about consolidating. So when you see us picking up all the stuff from the driveway, you'll see us putting all of the clothes into several tubs. You'll see us putting all of the electronics into another tub, and so on and so forth. Then when we put it back in the garage, it's just a simple matter of stacking all those tubs on top of each other, and you'll see that in the after pictures. Again, it still looks super cluttered to the average person, but compared to what it was, they now have the ability to walk from one end of that garage to the other. And if they ever do decide to get rid of any of that stuff, it's going to be super easy to do because they can open a tub and go, oh, that's old clothes, let's just donate this or throw them away. And this is all cleaning supplies that we bought and never used. Let's go donate those to whatever, to Cleaning Supplies Jeff. Lord knows he loves his cleaning supplies, which is why his parents named him that. He will enjoy these free cleaning supplies, or he will be beaten with these free cleaning supplies. Anyway, members, I will see you this Wednesday. Everyone else, I'll see you next weekend. Later.